Nothing like relaxing and playing games, right RPG God?
That's right, AZ Negative.
Nothing can ruin this perfect day. What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
Behold! It is I, the FPS God!
You're the god of frames per second?
No!
Fireman Protection Services.
No!
You're the...
No, you insolent brat! It is I, the first-person shooter God!
Okay. RPG, you know this guy?
Worse. He's my brother.
You did it, guys. You took over the world. And it sucks. It sucks. No! I'm not gonna give up! I have to be the one to save the world. I have to! But of course, I can't do this alone. I need a group of people that can help me. A group of rebels. And I just know the people to join me.
So that's the dummy we're going to fight?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait, are you in your pajamas?
That's not important now. We have to stop that guy.
You fools! You know I'm too powerful for you to stop me!
True, but what if we did something better? What if we complemented the FPS genre? If we make you happy, then you'll leave, right?
Fine, please me. If I don't feel like you guys have complimented on the FPS genre, then I will eradicate your world.
Alright guys, it's time to make the best review we possibly can. It's time to compliment the FPS genre. That's it. It's time to review the FPS games. Except there's one problem.
What is it? What's the problem?
FPSs suck! First person shooters. Easily without a doubt one of the biggest video game genres out there. Now, everyone has experienced a first person shooter somewhere in their life, and their experience from it can range from absolutely loving them and thinking they're some of the greatest games ever to be made, or they just think they're okay. And I personally think they're just okay. Well, it's not that I hate the genre. In fact, I've even played enough FPS games to outright say I hate it. It's just that I think during the modern era, a lot of the games kind of feel oversaturated. With every new shooter we get that changes up the formula and brings new innovation towards the gameplay, we get 1,000 more war shooters with a bunch of grown men blowing up everything. But I'm not here to make fun of the FPS genre, I'm here to praise it. But if I'm gonna praise it, I have to say one or two gripes I have with it. So here is why I think FPSs suck. Now, shooting games are no new thing in the video game industry. In fact, some early examples of these include Mega Man, Space Invaders, and Contra, but they became truly big in the 90s. The 90s as a whole was a pretty revolutionary time for video games. 16 and 32-bit consoles were being made, PC games were starting to become popular, and of course, the introduction of 3D. Everyone knew that 3D gaming was the next big thing in entertainment, and everyone was anticipating the next truly successful 3D title, and it just so happened to be a first-person shooter. Id Software created one of the biggest franchises at the time, and its name was Doom. With the success of Doom, the FPS genre truly took off, and with the release of games like Halo 3 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, they truly peaked. And that kind of sort of starts my first disappointment with the FPS genre, and it's the lack of creativity. Most modern FPS games are either war titles which focus on realism and grittiness and all of that, or they're super awesome space adventures with laser guns and swords and all of that stuff. There's really no uniqueness, and I'm not even joking about this. Look on screen, I have two games. One is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, and the other is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Can you guess which game is which? Don't worry, I'll give you a few seconds. Did you get the answer? Well, you're all wrong! The answer was Medal of Honor Airborne. You see what I mean? These games just all look the same! And I haven't even talked about the lack of gameplay changes throughout the years. Alright, how about I start off with a simple franchise to get my example out? You probably don't even know this game. It's a super unknown franchise, barely a lot of people have played it. You probably don't even know the game, so I shouldn't even bother with it. Okay, I know that we all like to joke about this franchise, but you gotta understand, when the original Call of Duty came out all the way back in 2005, it was a game changer for the FPS genre. Graphically, this game looked amazing. For its time, the weapons you used were all fun to play with, and the main campaign really felt like you were in a war zone. It really felt like you were playing through World War II. The only problem people really had with this game was the enemy AI and some of the environments you explored. But overall, Call of Duty was a fantastic title, and the sequels just got better from there. Call of Duty 2 and 3 introduced better enemy AI, better environments to explore, and you could even play in a freaking tank. I repeat that, in Call of Duty 2 and 3, you can play in a tank. And of course, we can't forget about some of the most legendary and landmark titles in gaming history. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. These games showed how graphically intense the 7th generations of consoles could be. For the most part, the gameplay felt like it was at its peak, and the game overall was just a fun experience. These games were incredible and felt like the ultimate Call of Duty games. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 wasn't that good. But yeah, pretty much every other first-person shooter that came out after Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 didn't really do too much to change the core gameplay. Instead, what most titles did was add something known as a gimmick to change up the gameplay. First off, gimmicks shouldn't be the only thing that changes up the gameplay. They should merely be the add-on, the cherry on top of things. I'll give you a good example of this. Super Mario Odyssey. Okay, I know this isn't a first-person shooter game, but this is a good example of how to use a gimmick correctly. The gimmick of Super Mario Odyssey is the capture mechanic. You throw Mario's head onto an enemy, then you become the enemy, using its unique properties to complete tasks and gain sweet collectibles. Now, while this is the main function of the game, this is not what truly makes the game special. There's a lot of new things that make Mario Odyssey different from the previous Mario titles. For one thing, Mario has the most moves out of any other 3D Mario title. And the worlds you explore are all unique to that game. I mean, Mario meeting normal humans? Get out of here! So, to put it simply, Mario Odyssey has a great gimmick in the capture mechanic, but it's only the one thing that makes it so great. I'm sure there are a lot of people who say they love that game, and one of the things they may mention isn't even related to the capture mechanic, and that's just what makes this game so good. It doesn't rely solely on a gimmick to make it truly amazing. There's tons of features they do that makes a game truly amazing. And at the end of the day, that's something the FPS genre truly needs. Something amazing. So, is that it? Is there nothing redeeming about the FPS genre? Are they all just games that look the same, play the same, feel the same? Is there nothing that truly makes these games stand out? Well, I have been holding out on a few franchises.
That's right. You thought I was just going to end the video on a sour note? Of course not. There's one redeeming feature about FPSs, and that's the fact that
Okay, I know it's a bit strange for me to say that FPSs rule when I just said a minute ago that they suck, but hear me out on this. When I said that FPSs sucked, I was only referring to a couple of games, because I legitimately think there are really good FPS games out there. So this kind of segues to my first and really only point to why I think that FPSs rule, and that's the fact that they're creative. Again, this contradicts everything I said beforehand, but hear me out on this. Earlier on in the video, I mentioned the fact that Doom was one of the first FPS games that truly pioneered the genre, and I mentioned the fact that it became a franchise. Well, in 2016, we got a game known as Doom 2016. As soon as Doom 2016 came out, it was a massive hit, selling millions of copies worldwide and becoming one of the most popular FPS games of the modern era. Now, there are a lot of reasons why this game did so well. I mean, it was the newest Doom game and we hadn't seen one in a couple of years, but I think the main feature that contributed to its massive success was the fact that it was different. Unlike most of the FPS games that came out that year, Doom stood out. You had unique environments to explore, crazy designed enemies, the weapon selection was awesome, the soundtrack was heavy metal, you could use a chainsaw, it was gory, it was something unheard of during that time, and it was something that everyone, and I mean everyone, just had to play. And the developers knew that once people played the game, they wanted more. So when Doom Eternal was released, it changed everything. You'd rarely see a sequel to a modern FPS game be better than the last title, but Doom Eternals did it. It improved upon everything the 2016 game did and added more. It had a fun campaign, the multiplayer for the most part was awesome, the weapon selection was even more crazier, the environments were even more fun to explore, and everything about it was just more awesome. It was a better experience overall, and that's why Doom Eternals is held as one of the greatest FPS games of our modern era. And it just gets better from here. What if I told you that there was another sequel to an FPS game that improved upon everything that that game did? Half-Life 2. Okay, I'm sure some people were expecting Halo 3, but we'll get to that. In the meantime, Half-Life 2 is often considered one of the greatest games ever made, and I haven't played it. I don't know, the game just never looked interesting to me. I mean, graphically it looks alright, but the gameplay shown just looks kind of generic. I'm sure the game is as fun as people say it is, but from what I've seen, it just looks alright. To be honest, I think Portal, developed by the same creators, looks a lot more interesting and a lot more fun to play than Half-Life 2. Okay, it's finally time to talk about what is arguably considered one of the greatest first-person shooter franchises ever to be made. Halo, one of the most influential first-person shooter franchise ever to be made. Originally starting development as a third-person action game, Halo quickly became one of the biggest first-person shooter games out there, spawning tons of sequels, merchandise, an upcoming game, and became a household title on the Xbox line of consoles.
And while it's not highly regarded as it was back in the day, the franchise is still beloved, with most of their games selling pretty well. But of course, there's one game in this franchise that is just considered better than the rest. Halo 3 is considered the best of the best. It's the modern warfare of the Halo franchise. No other game that came before it, and even after it, could reach the success of this title. Bungie developed this game as it was the last in the Halo franchise, and I can definitely see that. The story of this game felt like it could have been the story of the last Halo game, ending Master Chief's arc on a pretty solid note. The weapon selection, level design, and multiplayer was even better than the previous titles, and the graphics of this game. I mean the graphics. Now, I know the general consensus is that the Xbox 360 looks kinda better than the PlayStation 3, and in this case, it does. For a 2007 title, this game looks incredible. And looking at the games that are made after Halo 3, while they don't look bad by any means, most of the time, they just feel like they're not being made with a lot of passion. Instead, they feel like they're being made for the sake of being made. And while that's not a bad thing, it just kinda makes these titles feel underwhelming in some sense. But I guess it just shows how much love and attention Halo 3 was really given to being one of the best possible products it could have been, making Halo 3 a landmark title that will be remembered for years and years to come. So, to finally answer my questions, do FPSs suck or do they rule? I don't know, man, it's your decision, crying out loud. At the end of the day, FPS is just one single genre in the entire world of gaming. If you don't like them, you don't need to play them. There are tons of games out there that are not even closely related to FPSs, but if you do like them, go ahead. Go play as many FPSs as you want. It really doesn't matter. I was just here to state why I think they're bad and give a few points about that, and state why they're good and give a few points about that. I'm just here to balance everything out. But at the end of the day, you can choose what games you want to play. If you want to play an FPS, go play an FPS. If you don't want to play an FPS, don't play an FPS. That's all I'm gonna say, because at the end of the day, you choose the games you want to play. And my opinion is that FPSs, they're just fine. You know, they're fine. I like a couple of them, I don't like a lot of them, but man, they're just fine.
That was beautiful.
Why, thank you. Now do you please promise to stop destroying our world?
Okay, I won't try to destroy your world again, I promise.
Huh. I just realized, after taking a look at all these games, I think I finally realized that I'm just gonna stick to Nintendo.